It's time to strap in and get ready for the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Dan and Dirk are live in the studio today, ready to hear from you at 402-573-0590.
Good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs. Online at joeskarting.com, fast-paced white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. Get over to Joe's today. Do yourself right with a little indoor kart racing. And today's show is live. We're here. We're dominating it. Well, so far. We're a minute into the show, and I think we've done pretty good. Let's see how this keeps going, though, because it could come off the rails pretty quickly.
Thanks to Archer Perdue Auto Sales for bringing you this live edition of the front stretch.
Another great one. This is our 3-week stretch where we cover the back-to-back Saturday night races at that for NASCAR, and then next weekend, I don't know if you heard, there's a little bit of a race going on down at I-80, exit 420 on Interstate 80. They haven't told me the exact tally, but I believe the total purse for the 3-day weekend for the 8th annual Imperial Tile Silver Dollar Nationals is right around $320,000 is going to be paid out. So that's a lot of $35 tickets that have got to be sold.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you're not taking any of that home, are you?
I am not.
Me neither. Don't feel bad.
You know, I was talking to somebody about it last night, and they were asking if I was going to be back at Eagle Raceway on Saturday night, and I said, no, I got to go down the road and work at the Silver Dollar Nationals. And then I kind of stopped and thought, I've got to go down the road and work at the Silver Dollar Nationals. Oh, boo-hoo. It's a rough life I live. I either have to go and work at Eagle Raceway on Saturday nights, or I have to go and work at the Silver Dollar Nationals. So. Well,
the Silver Dollar Nationals, if we're interviewing the winner at 2 o'clock in the morning, will make for a rough Sunday morning.
Yeah,
but,
it does. I was really happy with them last year. They put things into gear. They move things along a lot faster after they got a little bit of pushback. Because the last couple of years, I understand that they wanted to make sure that the racing surface was perfect, and so they would rework the track after some of the races on Saturday night. And there's only, 3, 4, 5 races on Saturday night?
Well, the heat was so great the last couple of years that they, waited a little bit to get the sun down a little bit before they even started, abusing the track with the racing. So that was part of it.
And, the feature would roll out 12:30, 12:45, and then, would be wrapped up within 35, 40, 45 minutes, depending on the amount of cautions. And then we would have to do our thing. So long story short, there were several times I was leaving I-80 Speedway at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning to get home and edit all night long to get the interviews ready to go and then back over. So anyways, made for long nights. Last year, however, we were done, I believe, somewhere around 11:30. We were out of the track by about midnight. To 12:30, and made for a much easier show the next day. Make sure to listen next weekend. Again, another Archer Perdue live show coming at you, a full race recap from the Silver Dollar Nationals. But I want to talk about today what we've got lined up for you. We will recap the race at Kentucky and review the points because there is, 8 races left, Dirk?
I think there's 7 races left before the playoffs start. But you can go over, if you get a chance today, and you can check out archerperdue.com to check out their full inventory. They're located at 14227 S Street, just across the street west of the amazing pizza machine.
So the race, we'll recap the race at Kentucky last night. We'll talk about the points with 7 races to go as we get set for the 2018 NASCAR playoffs. Turn number 2, Carl Moyer of Karl Performance joins us. Big press release earlier this week. I believe it came out on Wednesday. And long story short, the press release said, unfortunately, due to changing economic times in our business and circumstances outside of our control, the company today is not poised for the future of racing and the custom car community. Karl Performance has decided to close its doors December 31st, 2018. So we wanted to get Karl of Karl Performance on the show to get a little bit deeper into that press release. We'll talk with Karl for about 10 or 15 minutes in turn number 2. Then turn number 3, one of our favorite hosts, or one of our favorite guests. And I know I got a bit of a man crush. We've talked about it. But am I right? Isn't Scott one of our favorite guests?
We always get candid answers from him.
And he talks to us for about 14 minutes or so. One of the shortest interviews that we've ever done with Scott. And it fits because we got a lot to talk about today. We couldn't do another 30, 45-minute interview with him like we like to do sometimes, but we will probably do that coming up this Saturday night at the Silver Dollar Nationals.
And for those that haven't paid attention in the dirt world, young Scott collected his 600th win last night.
600.
600 features.
I don't know
That's
if I've
crazy.
done anything 600 times. Well, I mean something, but
Eating
nothing
hot dogs,
worse.
maybe.
No, not even close. I tried my best Joey Chestnut impression last night, and it didn't work. Scott Bloomquist coming up at turn number 3, and then at turn number 4. Since we don't have a race we need to preview because the next race is going to be on Sunday, and we will be back in the studio next Sunday morning. We will preview next weekend's race next weekend on Sunday Sunday during turn 4. So we're going to talk about the Truck Series race at Eldora, and my fingers are crossed that we're going to be able to talk about our 5-week contest winner. But as of me just pressing the refresh button, the points hadn't been added yet. So we'll see if we're going to be able to announce who won that contest. But that'll be coming up hopefully in turn number 4. All right, we're already deep into turn number 1, and we haven't even started talking about Kentucky last night. I was out at Eagle Raceway watching, working, enjoying my life, and then you were doing the Barker Lounger deal with the Kentucky race. Can you give us kind of a brief recap of what happened if –
Martin Truex was Martin Truex. That's what happened.
All right, so that's what happened.
No, there was some racing. It was interesting watching Kyle Larson come from the back. And, of course, the part I loved about it is when all they talked about was during the caution laps at the beginning, before they went green, was Kyle Larson was late to driver introductions, so he had to go to the back. And they showed him running through the grass, and they said, and Kyle Larson. And no Kyle Larson walked out. So NASCAR sent him to the back, but then the racing brethren that it is, the guys that are normally back markers, went ahead and moved him up. He probably started around 30th instead of 39th. And but it was good racing to get him up. It took him about 20 laps to get in the top 15. And then he had a track bar problem late in the race, and they threw 14 rounds of wedge.
Jeez.
14 rounds of wedge at his car at a late pit stop. But he still finished in the top 10, kudos, even with an animal.
Kudos to that guy for being able to do 14 rotations and stay on track. I mean,
I've met a lot of those NASCAR mechanics, and a lot of them can't count to 14. But that's just a huge amount of adjustment. But his track bar evidently, I mean, he was cruising along and running up front, and then all of a sudden he just started dropping, and then there was a bunch of chatter about the track bar, and his crew chief finally told him to quit using it. He goes, it's moving on its own. I'm not touching the button. Yeah. So there was a short somewhere, and just jacked his whole setup up, and
weird.
But he still battled back.
Yeah, he ended up finishing 9th. He finished 8th in Stage 1, 5th in Stage 2. Took him 37 points after finishing 9th on the day. So even though it was an up and down day, he still had a good points day and was still able to get up into the top 10. Not a lot of drivers that you would expect to see up in the top 15 finished outside of that area. Alex Bowman, who started 15th, had a pretty hard wreck.
Well, he just blew a tire going into 3.
Okay.
Took out the right
I just
front.
saw a news headline of hard hit for Bowman.
Yeah, it was, it was a solid hit, and just tore the right side of the car up. He was done when that happened.
Okay.
And it wasn't a whole lot of demolition derby after last week. It was kind of a nice break.
They probably got a little bit of a talking to from the fab shop of, hey, let's try to keep these cars together for a couple of weeks. You've backed us up enough.
Of everybody's fab shop.
Yeah.
There was a real nice save by Kyle Busch. I think it was at the start of the second segment. And there was a little banging and stuff going on in 1 and 2, and he started heading towards the wall, but made a nice save. And it was good because they had an in-car camera view of him working the wheel. It was kind of neat.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finished 26th. Casey Kane, after having a promising run last weekend, finished 25th. Looks like Newman 21st, Byron 20th, Kenseth back in 19th, Hamlin 16th. So I think Hamlin's probably one of the, he's been struggling a little bit lately. So I guess I'm not really surprised to see him in the 16th spot. So
They had an issue early where they actually came in on one of the pit stops and drilled some holes in one of the to let a little air in through into the brake area, which like Jeff Burton and Dale were saying is really kind of odd at an intermediate track. They don't put any cooling ducts in because they want the downforce. So that probably affected him just a little bit.
Martin Truex Jr., like you talked about, swept the stages and finished in victory lane. Then Ryan Blaney comes home at a second-place finish. Brad Keselowski third, Kyle Busch fourth, and Harvick finished fifth. Kurt Busch sixth, Erik Jones seventh, Aric Almirola eighth, Larson ninth, and Joey Logano 10th.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski at the pit stop in the first stage got a speeding penalty. That's what got him all out of whack. He was running up front and had actually taken the lead during the round of pit stops, and then come that penalty, which kind of explains how he took the lead. But, that dropped him out of the points for the first stage. And I don't remember him having any problems. I think he was just on a different pit schedule than everybody else and, was playing for the race win and not worried about the points.
Yeah. Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch were next in line, even though they finished second and fourth for points on the day, both getting 50 points for their finishes on the day. So that's going to do it for Kentucky. I want to talk real briefly about the point standings. Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., obviously those top three locked in with the most wins. Between those three, they have 14 wins in the 18 races we have completed. Martin Truex Jr. comes home next, 4 wins on the day, or on the season so far. Joey Logano with 1 win. He is also locked in. Clint Boyer locked in with 2 wins. Erik Jones locked in with his win last weekend at Daytona. And Austin Dillon sitting back in 18th. He is locked into the playoffs with his win at the Daytona 500. That makes, 9 drivers to get a win. We've got 7 drivers to get a win. We've got 16 drivers that are going to get into the playoffs, and that leaves Brad Keselowski, who is 5th in points, sitting pretty comfortable. Kurt Busch, who is 7th in points, is sitting pretty comfortable. Brad Keselowski, 189 points above the cut. Kurt Busch, 159 points above the cut. Kyle Larson, officially in 10th, as he is no wins on the year, but 137 points above. Hamlin next, Aric Almirola. Then you start to get into Ryan Blaney. This is kind of the area where below 100 points with the 7 races left we have, or the 8 races left we have to run before we wrap up the playoffs. I did it again. It's 7 races to go. 7 races to go before the playoffs. About 100 points is where you can stop feeling comfortable for your point advantage. Because even though somebody could gain 60 points on the day, typically you're only going to gain about 15 to 20 on a really good day on your opponents.
You're never going to gain 60 points. You can't do that because the other guy'd have to not enter for you to gain that much.
True. 59 would be the best you could gain.
Yeah, and that's you win and sweep, and the other guy comes in dead last. So,
on the bubble is going to be, who I would say, Aric Almirola in 10th, 96 points above. Ryan Blaney in 13th. Aric Almirola in 12th. Ryan Blaney in 13th, 89 points above. Jimmy Johnson sitting in 14th, 54 points above. Chase Elliott is in 15th in the playoff standings, 37 points above, and Alex Bowman, 19 points above in 16th. Stenhouse, 19 points back in 17th. Paul Menard, 55 points behind the bubble. Ryan Newman, 94 points behind the bubble. And Daniel Suarez, 108 points behind the bubble. So that's the way your playoff window looks, with not enough races to go for a lot of these guys to start catching up. So they're going to have to start focusing on how to steal a win.
My biggest disappointment out of that whole bunch is probably Paul Menard. Mm-hmm. With all of his experience and going into that 21 car that made the chase last year. If he doesn't make it this year, that's just a big step back.
That's on him.
Yeah.
And, maybe if he comes back and he gets into the playoffs next year, you could say they had an off year. Someone like Joey Logano, they've had, ever since that penalty early last year, they've just, even though they've got a win, they haven't been the powerhouse that you've seen Penske and even you could say the same thing about Brad Keselowski. We haven't seen him up competing for wins near as much.
Yeah, Penske across the board's been just a little bit out to lunch this year. I mean, it's kind of funny to say Brad's in a good spot point-wise, and Joey's got to win.
Yeah.
But I think almost the most consistent racer week in and week out's been Ryan Blaney over in the Penske camp.
I agree. Real quick NASCAR news and notes. Chad Knaus inked a 2-year extension to stay with Jimmy Johnson in the 48 team with Hendrick Motorsports. Surprised? Not surprised, Dirk?
Oh, not surprised at all. You know, he's too young to retire.
Yeah.
And
I don't understand. I hear people talk about all the time how maybe they need to shake things up and Chad Knaus needs to go and work with Alex Bowman or work with somebody else at Hendrick Motorsports. I guess I'm really confused. Why in the world would you ever do that? I mean, why would you break up a winning combination like that, and probably the winningest combination?
Well, because for the last year or two, they're not really the winningest anything,
yeah.
You know. So, and, you know, the guy that's paying the bills is definitely happy with it. So,
and he's smart enough to know the struggles they're having in 2018, probably less to do with Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson and more to do with that new body style.
Well,
no Chevy is really strong right now.
That, and I mean, he also went through all the crew chief changes with Dale Jr. And really had no fantastic results with any of it. So it's almost proven in his camp that you can make all these changes and it doesn't change anything.
Yeah. The next story that came out that I wanted to talk about, Levine Family Racing considering switching manufacturers. Currently, they have a bow tie on the front of their car. They are considering switching to Toyota and would form an alliance with Joe Gibbs Racing. Short term, that seems like a smart thing to do. But I always get a little bit nervous when you switch manufacturers because eventually Chevy's going to get this figured out. History's on their side that they will figure out what's going on with this car, and they'll be the dominant force again. Do you really want to be the one to switch right before they figure it out?
Well, also what I think they might be looking at is the fact that Toyota's going to eventually, here in the next few years, be rid of the Camry. They're coming out with the Xfinity car next year. They're going back to the Celica. Or not going back to, they're going to the Celica, which the pictures look like a really neat car.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's yet to be proven what the on-track performance will be. They might be lost for a year, but, you know, Toyota's got very smart people over there in their engineering department. They'll figure it out.
That's going to do it for us in turn number 1. Carl Moyer of Karl Performance and Karl Chevrolet coming up in turn number 2. We're going to talk about the decision to close shop and end Karl Performance's existence. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
Race fans all over the Midwest fill up at Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Grab the Metro's best wings and catch all the NASCAR and dirt late model action on the Brickyard big screens. Quaker Steak and Lube salutes two-wheel fans with the huge bike night on Wednesdays and showcases Motor City Metal with classic car cruising on Thursdays. Party with Dan and Dirk for the Dirt Derby Truck Series race in Eldora on Wednesday, July 18th.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
This is Jonathan Davenport, the 2016 Silver Dollar Nationals champion, and you're listening to the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, heading into turn number 2, and it's time to sit down with, I think it's easy to say, a very influential person in the dirt racing and custom car community, Carl Moyer of Karl Performance, joining us on the show now. Carl, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to sit down and talk with us.
Yeah, not a problem. Just ask whatever you'd like, and I'll try to help.
Well, I think everyone was kind of surprised at the press release that came out earlier this week on Facebook that you guys have decided to cease operations at the end of the year. You're going to fulfill any obligations that you've had and continue to fill orders until December 31st, when you guys will cease operations. I want to get started at the beginning of this all. How did Karl Performance come about? Whose idea was it? Was it your passion? Was it somebody else's?
Well, back in March of 2012, I bought a business that was right here in town, and it was called JR Motorsports. And the building that I got with the company was it was a warehouse for parts and parts sales, and also an engine shop and an engine dyno. Anyway, I leased the building and bought the business. And like a lot of things I've done in my life, I probably got a little bit aggressive too soon, and I went and bought a piece of ground, and that summer started to build the 60,000 square foot building that we had Karl Performance in, and we built that building kind of as a dream that I had of anything and everything that I'd ever want in the way of anything gearhead related, and that would have been like we had there in the business. We built dirt race cars of all kinds, including late models, stock cars, modifieds, anything you can name that races on dirt. We built those there. We had a complete machine shop where we done the complete engine builds and an engine dyno, all-wheel drive chassis dyno, upholstery shop, body shop. Then we had parts sales where we sold street rod parts and racing parts and everything that you need to go along with car parts, including the safety equipment and all the other stuff that racers need. And along with that, there was a custom shop where we would do complete builds on a street rod, anything from taking the body off the chassis and doing it all, and done some just outstanding projects there. And but we employed 55 people as of yesterday there, and it was a deal that I've got a full-time job as it is, and that's running Karl Chevrolet. That's the goose that laid the golden egg. It's my business, and I've got over 500 people that work for me in the businesses that I own. And to tell you honestly, I couldn't spend enough of my own time there at the business to get it figured out. I love the business, but it just, from the day I opened it up, it never made me a dime, and was always eating into my money that I need to use here. So, it was just a tough decision. The people that I have working there, every one of them, they're still going to work until all their work is done. Some of them, I'm going to be able to place those in one of my other businesses. And all of my people that I've got working there for me are loyal and really good people and do me a good job. It's a sad deal, and we've got just a super customer clientele of people that were repeat customers, and it's a big blow to a lot of people.
Yeah, I was noticing that as I was looking into it. I mean, you went through, it took you about 4.5 minutes to list off everything that you guys did at Karl Performance. And when you do that much stuff, you've got to have big time overhead.
Well, and that's I guess the one thing that kills a lot of juicy looking businesses. From the outside looking in, the people who really don't understand would look at that thing. It's a beautiful facility, and it just looks like, everything that's going on there, they've got to be killing them. But it costs a lot of money. But that really isn't it. I mean, the cost of the building, as nice as it was, the mortgage and the taxes and insurance really wasn't it. It wasn't that big of a deal. But then it's the cost of people, and so you put that element in there, and it turns into being a big monthly nut, and that's really what. It's just tough to cover the cost of the whole operation, and a lot of that's just the human cost, and so anyway.
Unfortunately, your passion turned into something that was providing meals for a lot of people, and I feel for you. That had to have been an incredibly grueling decision to come down at the end of the day and say we've got to wrap this up and move on to other endeavors.
And I'm glad you said that, because it's I'm a 77-year-old car nut, and just up until a few years ago, I was racing myself on the dirt, and it's just something that from a kid, I've always just loved cars and loved working on them and making something out of nothing. Then yesterday, I made my mind up, and of course we put the information on our website, what we're planning on doing and how we're planning on winding it down. But before that, I went over and gathered all my people together and told them, and that was a tough deal to look them people in the eye and say, it's over. It just isn't working, so we're gonna have to quit this. And it's hard to do. And I thought that I'd go home and go to bed and not have that on my mind like I normally take it to bed with me, worrying about it. And hell, I worried about it more than had I not done that. So, and then I got lambasted with all kinds of social media, and there again, it's one of them things. It's just so hard to explain to the world why I have to do what I done. I didn't do it because I wanted to. I sure did not want to.
You started the business because you wanted to. You're not ending it because you want to.
No, and it's just hard for everybody to understand, and to a lot of people, they're going to miss it, including myself. So
well, and it's not like you open the business and we're open for 6 months and say, well, I'm not rich, so I'm going to close this thing. I mean, you gave it an honest effort.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that, because that's true. It was a hard deal to keep alive, and everybody over there that worked for me, it wasn't a secret. I mean, everybody knew that we were fighting hard just to try to get to an even number, and so it wasn't like it was a big shock. The reason why everybody that works for me understands that what the situation there was, and I've told everybody, as long as they're working for me, until this deal's wound down, they're going to get a paycheck, just like they always do. So, we'll get through it. And so far, this is the first live day that everybody's had a chance to shoot at me, and they've been firing.
Oh, listen, don't this social media crap. It's only the negatives and the haters, and if they're saying something to you, it's only because you moved their life at one point in time.
Right.
I understand. It's kind of like Dale Earnhardt always said, I don't care if they boo as long as they're doing something. That means they're noticing me, Yeah,
there's some truth to that.
And Kyle Busch is kind of taking over that realm too. Yep. Cheer, whatever. Just make some noise when I'm out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to get you on today to kind of get your side of it, because I could see it on the post that people were just coming at you from every angle and assuming 99% of it, and to have some sort of a voice, what little show we have and what little signal we're able to get reached out to people. I wanted to put a voice and a person behind the statement and the decision, because it changes dramatically then when you hear you, Carl, explaining the decision and how painful it was.
Hey, one more last statement regarding the whole racing industry that I'd like to leave you guys with, and I have proof to support what I'm saying. But for a lot of years, and I'm talking about 35 years, I've been a strong supporter of racing of all kinds, including 15 years of my own professional drag racing all over the country, and being the official car and truck sponsor of the International Hot Rod Association, and then being involved with IMCA and all the stuff that we've done in dirt, and being sponsors of a lot of dirt racers. So, it's in my blood, it's in my heart, and for anybody that this is affected negatively, I really apologize. It's just one of the things I had to do.
Yeah, it's a tough decision, I know, because the first second you're in this sport, and even outside of it, you know how much sponsorship dollars are important to this sport. And for somebody like you that loves it as much, I mean, it's got to make it an even tougher decision to pull that money out and run the risk of the catastrophic things that could happen.
Right. Well, thanks, guys.
Thanks
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Carl.
That was Karl Moyer of Karl Performance. A tough conversation. I hated to hear that news come out.
Well, we got it from the source now. Yeah. So there's no, like I said, we saw people bashing IMCA, and think they drove him out and everything. It's just plain and simple. You got to close the doors when you're not making any money. Mm-hmm. Just like Brad Keselowski closed his race team up a year ago because he wasn't making any money.
It's unfortunate. I mean, it's the way the economy's going. We've moved our way into it being so expensive to participate in this sport that now that the industries that have typically thrived, the support industries, can't thrive anymore. They're not able to get it done, and it's unfortunate. So the main reason why I wanted to have Carl on was exactly like I told him. He was just getting lambasted on Facebook and on social media, and people just assuming, and it was the same thing when Lowe's announced they were leaving Jimmy Johnson. 20-some years Lowe's gave sponsorship to Jimmy Johnson, and they've made the decision to leave, and nobody says thank you. You immediately turn to him and just start screaming at him. What a great way to not make somebody want to return when they can, So I wanted to get Carl on and just talk about it because that had to have been a painful decision. To stand in front of 55, not just employees, but when you're that close and that into a business, those are 55 friends. He probably interviewed every one of them, made some sort of process in hiring them, training them, grooming them, and then he had to tell them as of December 31st they no longer had a job. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 3. Scott Bloomquist will join us to preview the 8th annual Silver Dollar Nationals and the 2nd annual Go 50 at Iowa Speedway coming up this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I had to check my watch and make sure because, I blinked and it was a month ago. It was a month to come, and now all of a sudden it's this weekend.
I think I just went to bed last night and get ready for the Daytona 500.
I know. It keeps going. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around the professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Today's live show brought to you by Archer Perdue Auto Sales. In today's front stretch deal of the day, Dirk?
We've got a doubleheader for you today. We've got a couple of crew cabs. We've got a 2008 Dodge Ram 4x4 loaded, listed at $13,900. We also have a 2014 Ford F-150 Crew 4x4 for $22,900. You can check those out at archerperdue.com. You can give them a call at 402-891-1100 or stop by the store. They're open today from noon to 4. It is at 14227 S Street, just across the street to the west of the amazing pizza machine. Give them a look.
Thank you to Archer Perdue Auto Sales for bringing us today's live show on the front stretch.
Race fans all over the Midwest, fill up at Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Grab the Metro's best wings and catch all the NASCAR and Dirt late model action on the Brickyard big screens. Quaker Steak and Lube salutes two-wheel fans with the huge bike night on Wednesdays and showcases Motor City Metal with classic car cruising on Thursdays. Party with Dan and Dirk for the Dirt Derby Truck Series race in Eldora on Wednesday, July 18th.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Hey race fans, this is Shaylee Bathe, the driver of the 03 U.S. Army Hellgate Construction Carpetland Sprint Car. You are listening live to the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Rolling into turn number 3, and it's time to talk to probably one of the winningest guys. And this is the tough thing about dirt racing, is that statistics are always a little bit off because you guys run so many races a year, but I think we're going to say the winningest late model driver of all time, Scott Bloomquist. Man, great to have you back on the show.
Hey, thank you.
Scott, you've had a heck of a year already, and I think this is becoming maybe you don't want to hear it, but it's becoming a very typical Scott Bloomquist year where something weird happens, you're in the news, there's a chance of bad stuff happening, but it all turns around, and you go out there and just start whooping guys' butts just to prove, like you didn't need to again, you're still the best.
Well, again, we have had a lot of opposition and a lot of things that have been controversial, just because of really not knowing the full depth of the problems I was having with my shoulders, especially my left one. But that now that we have got the full understanding, and it's really odd to go from 1 week you're gearing up for rotator cuff surgery, and I even had started disassembling my cars and was gearing up to sell them because I didn't need them to sit around for 6 months. I needed some money to help pay the bills while I would be out of racing, and so here you're gearing up for that, and when your MRI comes back and the doctor looks at it with you, and he's like, "Well, I got good news and bad news." Okay, and it's just he said, "I don't see any reason you can't race this weekend," which I was stunned. And I'm like, "What?" And we hadn't even worked on our cars to get anything ready to go race that week because I was that sure of it, and we already had one of them half apart to sell. I'm like, "What?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Your rotator cuff is not much worse than any average athlete." He said, "You can tell there's been some damage over your life." He said, "But nothing needs surgery." He said, "What you've got going on is an extreme case of arthritis." So that, I'm 54, but I've never felt in my mind that I'm much more than 25, but occasionally your body reminds you, but still, and so hearing arthritis, that's what I think about when I think of your grandmother or your whatever, So I'm like, really? What do you mean? I really didn't understand how it could be that was that painful. And he showed me the MRI, and he showed me where I had bone to bone, grinding, and where a lot of cartilage was missing, and said that within 2 to 3 years I'll probably have to have a shoulder replacement, but that could be done in the off season. And there's a lot quicker recovery time for that than there is rotator cuff stuff. So he said you probably won't have to miss any racing the rest of your career. So now it's like going on the way down there. Trees weren't real bright, and the sky wasn't real blue, and everything was just kind of I wasn't real happy guy. And all of a sudden it was like you were given a life sentence, and then they decided, wait a minute, no, you can go home.
You got the pardon.
Yeah. How fast did you drive home? Now that there's no police officers on your radar, I can only imagine.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of funny because my truck will only run 95, and that's how fast I was running. So,
you were on the chip.
Because I knew it was going to be difficult to even get there and be prepared to race, and I called everybody and even called people, friends, and a good friend of mine. He was at work, and he said he'd call someone to get him to take his place, and he'd be right over to help. And, it was just call in all the dogs and let's get at it. And we made it happen. So, we've always been able to dig down deep and make things happen. It's about that way with anything. How bad do you want it? And what are you willing to sacrifice for it is the key to success in anything. So, I've got some good people around me. And have a lot of people that may not be around me anymore, but never had an employee that's ever went off somewhere else that I couldn't call if I ever got in a bind that wouldn't come and help me. So, that was kind of what happened, and we got everything geared up, and here we are now. So we're ready to finish the season, ready to win a championship, and ready to win a bunch more races.
Yeah, every successful dirt racer has had that overnight thrash, maybe 2 nights in a row with no sleep, a couple beers for breakfast, and back at it. So, you're not alone in that respect.
Oh, absolutely not. This sport we're the most underpaid, overworked people on the planet.
Except for NFL players. Just ask them.
Oh, shit. Yeah, all right. Well, let's go to their house, see how nice they're living.
Yeah, yep. You won your 8th Dream and your 6th Show Me 100 this year. I mean, it seems like every time we talk to you, we talk about eventually your career is going to have to wind down. And then you keep going out and winning these big races and finishing up in the points for the series standings. Are you going to be racing until you're 80?
I always tell anyone that asks me that, I just tell them, I said, I'm going to race as long as I can physically operate at a level that I know it's not preventing me from being able to win. If there's not anything physically wrong with me, whether it be sight or just any physical ability that I think is holding me back, that I think someone else could get in and do a better job. The day that I think someone else could do better, or I think that there's something that I can't, that's hindering my performance that I can't fix. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I'll keep trying to fix whatever problem might arise. yeah, it's like the doctor said. He said the worst thing I was doing was babying my arm. I was hardly using it, and I was afraid I was damaging the thing. And when I left there, he goes, go join a gym. He said, go swimming, go play tennis. He said, use it. He said, what's happened is by you not using it, it's made the arthritis get worse and worse. And he showed me that, all of it was in the MRI. So it does hurt considerably still after races, but he said, take anti-inflammatories, and that's what I take, ibuprofen, take 4 or 5 of them after I race. And amazing enough, they seem to be real effective. It still hurts like hell that night and on into the evening, but the next morning when I wake up, it feels just fine. So I don't see a problem just continuing on, and hopefully there won't be some other physical thing come about to keep me from being able to race. And I could be racing another 20 years, I mean, there's no telling.
So how many tennis matches has the Dirt Track Dominator played since that prognosis?
Well, that actually wasn't keeping me from tennis because I'm right-handed.
I'm just trying to picture you out there on the tennis court in them tight white shorts and the hat.
No. You got to get a different picture. That's the wrong picture. Long surf Bermuda shorts. No, they ain't no white nothing. We definitely don't fit into the country club when we go.
Dirk had a question, but I think I just shocked it out of him.
Well, no, I was just going to make the comment. You were talking about when you were going to quit racing, and if it was something that made you not do it right or be non-competitive. So I was picturing you getting Alzheimer's and going down the straightaway and forgetting to turn left. Yeah, that might make him stop.
I have been accused of having a bad short-term memory, but I call that selective memory.
Selective memory. I like that. Well, listen, the other reason why we wanted to talk to you got a big race coming up this coming Friday, Saturday, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Iowa Speedway for the 8th Annual Silver Dollar Nationals.
2 big races coming up, not just one.
And I wanted to kind of see if adding the Go 50 in that 10,000 to win race on Thursday night, does that change your gearing for the weekend when you're getting ready for this race?
It's kind of a question that was asked about Eldora when they added the 2 nights prior to the Dream and World. And really, it gives everyone an opportunity to get dialed in. And, you got to realize, we don't get 2 laps of practice, and we are right into the evening's event. And so, I approach that evening, I want to win that race. But if there's anything at all that I am thinking I might like to try there or test there, and I'll throw a lot of things at the car that night that I wouldn't have done for the big nights, the big show, because it was all too important to take a chance for the big race. Mm-hmm. You just got to go with what you already know. And you might have some things that you're thinking that you could do to your car that you would make it perform better at that particular racetrack, but you just can't afford to try it. And so now that's a night to try it.
Well, is your qualifying effort then on Thursday night for the 10 grand show, is that going to kind of dictate? I mean, if you draw a poll, obviously it'd be kind of silly not to just go ahead and take the 10 grand. But, if you're sitting back in 12th or 14th, a little experimentation might be in order.
Well, here's the thing. No, the whole plan is to take the 10 grand. It's just it's not about trying something off the wall. It's about trying some things that have been proven at other places you haven't tried there. You just want to see if you could enhance or improve something you already know is good. You still could win the race and decide not to run it the next day.
Yeah, I mean, the track's going to be a little different by the time Saturday night rolls around. I mean, the Koziski boys do a good job with the track, and I'm pretty sure you'll have a racy track all 3 nights. But
that place, I love the place. I mean, the first time I went there, we won the race, and I mean, it races well. There's a lot more room out there and a lot more lanes and different places to. If your car's not working well one place, there's plenty of options. So, it's always going to be a great race just because that racetrack races awful well.
Well, buddy, what do you think? You're definitely not slowing down. You've got 2 big wins on the year, 5 total wins for the Lucas Oil late models. And you're coming out to a track that you favor. Should the competition be pretty worried again?
Absolutely.
I don't even know why I asked. I don't even know why I asked. All right, good man.
Yeah, I tell you what, I feel like, it's almost like feeling a little bit reborn, and I was very depressed, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with myself for 6 months other than go to rehabilitation and just try to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with myself. But to know that I'm not going to have to endure that. And, my right shoulder, I've got a muscle torn in the front of it. And I thought, well, maybe, I got to thinking we could fix them both at the same time. But then I got to realize, and then I need someone to wipe my ass. So I said, that ain't going to happen. We're glad we're not going to have to do either one of them, and we're going to be out there loaded for bear.
Well, we're going to love seeing you out there, and it kind of sounds like we might be talking to Bionic Man in 2019.
That'd be all right.
Hey, and the weather's been a little cooler up here than normal, so.
Don't say that. It's going to
scare. I can't imagine it being hotter.
You're absolutely right. Scott Bloomquist, driver of the Zero. You'll see him this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at I-80 Speedway for the 8th Annual Silver Dollar Nationals and the Go 50, Malvern Bank Go 50 on Thursday night. Thanks a lot, Scott. Appreciate talking to you. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.
If you don't have your tickets yet, just forego the decision process. Just get yourself the 3-day pass Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the Thursday night race is going to give some of these young guys that haven't been to I-80 Speedway or don't have a lot of experience an opportunity to feel the track out for Saturday night's big paying feature event. We're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 4 to wrap this baby up on the front stretch.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
Dan and Dirk are live for one last corner. Give them a call now at 402-573-0590.
And that is the number you can also call if you want to try to win from our prize vault. I was going to try to pick something out, but we've got all these different things in our prize vault, from autographed NASCAR hero cards to autographed koozies, dirt track items, Bobby Pierce stuff. We've got Ricky Thornton Jr. autographed VP Racing Fuel masks, all sorts of stuff. So just call up right now, 402-573-0590. If you want to win, we will give you an opportunity to answer any kind of a question you want to. Dirt track, NASCAR, true or false. I'll even ask a really tough question to Dirk, and your trivia is, did Dirk get it right or not?
Why don't we just ask a real simple trivia question to get started?
Because I'm going to let them pick if they want to be a dirt track question or a NASCAR question.
One simple question.
They're all simple questions. 402-573-0590 if you want a chance to win anything in our prize vault. We'll work it out with you to figure out what we've got in there and what you want to take home with you. 402-573-0590. About 10 minutes left in the show, and we got a lot to talk about. I want to preview the Silver Dollar Nationals and make sure all the information for what's going on for the big 3 days at I-80 Speedway is all set to go. Coming up on Thursday night, the Malvern Bank Go 50 featuring the makeup race from the May race, the 10,000 to win Lucas Oil late model race, and then the Malvern Bank SLMR series will battle for 5,300 to win, and unsanctioned modifieds will race. $34 for adults, $12 for kids 6 to 12, and kids 500 get in for free. Pit gates are going to open up at 2. Racing is going to start at about 7:15. We come back on Friday night, and it's the Imperial Towels Silver Dollar Nationals 8th Annual Edition. And the USMTS Modifieds and Lucas Oil late models will have dual qualifying action to set the field for Saturday night. We come back for Saturday night, and it's the wrap-up night for the Imperial Towels Silver Dollar Nationals 8th Annual Silver Dollar Nationals. Last chance qualifiers, the Al Belt Customs, or the Al Belt Clash, the last chance qualifier, where the winner of the race either gets to take the money or join the back of the field for the Lucas Oil feature that night, and then it will have the Lucas Oil last chance qualifiers and the Lucas Oil race.
And last year, Brandon Shepard won that clash and came from the back to run second.
Do you remember what that pays? I want to say it was close to, if not just a little bit more than the starting position.
Yeah, it was a little bit more. I want to say it paid like $3,000 because it was like $1,500 to start, I think.
Yeah.
For the feature. So, yeah, it was about $3,000. I mean, it's definitely a risk.
Yeah.
And you've got to basically get up in the top 15 to make anything pay off. And like I said, Brandon Shepard ran it all the way up to second last year.
And then the big $53,000 to win on Saturday night. You can get your 3-day passes. I believe they are still available. You're going to have to call the office and get them in advance. You save about $10 if you buy all 3 of them in advance, or just pick them up individually Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Credit cards are available at the ticket window, and then you can enjoy the Silver Dollar Nationals. All right, we're going to head over to the phone lines. Roger wants to try to win with the front stretch. Roger, how you doing this morning, bud?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Are you a NASCAR or dirt track fan?
That's silly. That's dirt track.
All right, where's your favorite track?
Knoxville.
Who won the... Oh, God, that's too easy of a question. I got to do it, though. I tell you what, how about this? Are you a weekly Knoxville fan, or you go over there for the specials?
Specials.
Okay. What year did Jason Johnson win the Knoxville Nationals?
2016.
You got it, buddy. That was easy, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
A little bit too easy. We've got some, we're going to put you on hold. I'm going to get some information from you. I'll get a hold of you tomorrow when I get back in the office, and we'll figure out what your prize will be, all right?
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Roger. Appreciate you listening. It was that easy. Roger just won. He's got himself something. We've got something so deep in the prize vault that we don't even know what he's going to get, but he'll get something autographed, and maybe he'll choose to hold on to when we go over to the Knoxville Nationals, and when we will get some autographed items from the winner.
Maybe.
All right, we got to talk about the pickups contest. It did. I prayed, and my prayers were answered. As we were sitting there in turn 2, listening to the interview with Carl Moyer, I swear Rick was the administrator for the site, was listening, and he was updating the site as I was refreshing it. But congratulations, unofficially, Holly Humphrey Larson is our contest winner. She ended up taking, I don't know if she took Kyle Busch or Kevin Harvick, but she got 50 points on the day. So did Gene, who finished in second, took either Larson. Why do I keep saying that? Kyle Busch or Kevin Harvick also got 50 points on the day. So they stayed locked, 1 and 2. Holly Humphrey is our unofficial winner. That is, provided her driver doesn't receive any penalties and she doesn't drop in the standings, but she wins it by 3 points.
I didn't think there'd be any big movers because I figured in the first 4 races of the 5-week contest that everybody had pretty much taken Martin Truex already. So I didn't know if anybody'd have him left. I do know one person that did, but they were so far behind it didn't make any difference.
Your brother ended up jumping 15 points, though, so he finished the contest in 40th. The pickups contest on the front stretch presented by Rick Havenridge of Wealth Partners, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services Incorporated. Visit them online, truewealthpartners.com. So congratulations to Holly. Once the official standings come out, once NASCAR releases any penalties, if there are any at all, we will then contact Holly, and we will reach out also to Gene, David, Karen, and Dan Cleaver, who was our 5th place finisher. Now, 2nd through 5th, all won tickets to the race weekend, but if they can't go, we will drop those tickets down to 6th, 7th, and 8th. So even though you didn't finish in the top 5, you still may be going to Iowa Speedway for the final race weekend over at our favorite little short asphalt track.
And we will be over there, and we'll be trying to introduce you to a few people, maybe see if we can get a quick hello from David Hyatt, the track president.
Great guy. And I love sitting down and talking with him.
Yeah, I mean, we had a nice chat. I mean, he was comfortable enough with us that he brought his son in, who was, 10, 12 years old, somewhere around there. And so I thought that whole weekend, even though we were only at the track 4 hours last time.
That was a quick trip, wasn't it?
But it was probably the best trip we'd ever had.
It didn't cost us much but gas and time, and we got 3 great interviews out of it. We made some more contacts, getting all set for the 5-week contest down at Kansas Speedway in October. And I think we're going to, now that this one's all wrapped up and there's almost a bow tie on it, we'll wait till Wednesday for the penalty report to say there's a bow tie on it. But once we got that all wrapped up, then we can start really focusing on that October race down at Kansas Speedway. Same deal, but we're going to go for a big team again. can. We're going to try to get one of the big top-tier teams to work with us on that. And I always hate saying that because I think that the winners get a lot more when they work with a team like David Starr Racing or with Starcom Racing, because those guys don't have so much strict sponsor obligations. So the fan is able to interact a lot better with the car, the driver, the crew. But with Joe Gibbs Racing, it's that glitz and glamour. Or with Richard Childress Racing or Hendrick Motorsports, whoever we're able to get for the October race.
Well, I think the fact that we've got some good rapport with the gal we're going to contact from a previous contest. Mm-hmm. I thought she did a real good job, and I think she liked the fact that we helped out and did what we could to complete the fans' experience. So I think, and we've stayed in touch with her. So
yep.
I think we have a real good chance of locking that one down.
Once again, I got to say a big thank you to Rick Havenbridge of Wealth Partners, who's a financial advisory practice for Bear Price Financial Services. TrueWealthPartners.com for more information. Got to say a big thank you to Rick. He steps up and pays for this contest, so we're able to have it on the website. It's a lot less work for me, and it's a lot easier for all of the listeners because you could just pull up your cell phone. You can go right to the mobile site and make your pick, and within usually 12 to 24 hours of the race being completed, how that pick panned out for you, where it panned out with the rest of them. So the site does a really good job. We're really happy with Rick, really glad that he's able to help us out with that and that we're able to offer this. But then the contest itself, it's we can't say it enough. It is a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
And he buys a really cool trophy.
Oh, yeah, that trophy at the end of the year is just awesome. I love that trophy at the end of the year. So congratulations unofficially to Holly Humphrey Larson for winning the contest. She's going to be going over with us to Iowa Speedway. All right, coming up this Wednesday night, it is the Dirt Derby at Eldora Speedway. The Truck Series rips the splitters off. They go down to Eldora Speedway for a Wednesday night, a once-a-year event at Eldora for the Dirt Derby, and they're going to be racing. So we are putting together a viewing party at Quaker Steak and Lube.
Yeah, I don't like the Dirt Derby. I'm going to still call it the Mud Summer Classic.
You're probably the same guy that still calls it the Winston. Yeah. The Winston Series.
And I personally won't be surprised if Carl shows up in a truck. I really won't.
It just never ends. It just never ends. But you could join us. It's a free event. Quaker Steak and Lube has a bike night going on that night, so there is going to be restricted parking. When you come into Quaker Steak and Lube, there's going to be guys in orange shirts that will be directing you to traffic. Maybe you're going to park to the field to the south.
Traffic.
That's right. Park to the south, or if they have you park over into the west side of the parking lot. But just pay attention to where they tell you to park, because the main parking lot will be closed for bike night. There will be a live band, and I have been guaranteed that the Brickyard will be reserved for front stretch fans only. When you come into the main entrance, just tell them you want a couple of seats in the Brickyard with the front stretch, and they'll put you over there with us. Great beer specials, outdoor beer garden, cash only. There are $2 Busch Lights, $3 aluminum bottles of beer, and then also food specials, $7.99 sandwiches and burgers. Typically, there's going to be wing specials we're going to do on these sporting events, but I think I'm doing you guys a favor by sticking with the regular specials that night, because that jacked up BLT that they've got is absolutely phenomenal, and it's only $7.99. I highly suggest you try it because it's on one of those limited menus, and it could be gone in a week or two. So when you get there Wednesday night, just ask for the jacked up BLT, get yourself a lube tube. The race, the party starts at 7. The racing starts at 8. We'll be there till about 10 o'clock. It's probably going to be about an hour and a half, 2-hour event. It'll be a great night on Wednesday night.
Well, the event takes a lot longer than that because they go through all the heat races and everything. If I remember last year, they started the TV at about 6 o'clock, and I think we were still there at about 10:30 or quarter to 11.
You might be confusing it with the midget race, the Chili Bowl.
No,
Okay.
No. Because we sat there and Stan come over.
Well, it was cautioned. There were so many cautions at that race last year when we sat there.
For the feature, there was.
But to your beginning point, absolutely, the heat races do absolutely start earlier that night. I believe they start time trials at 4 o'clock our time, and then heat races at 6 o'clock. Fox Sports 1 starts their broadcast at 7 o'clock. So, and then they'll go back and they'll recap what the heat races did. So, unfortunately, unless you're at Eldora, you're not going to be able to see everything that goes on.
Well, maybe I'll take the corporate helicopter. And,
Is that it for repairs? No, it's not. It's never get used. I got to say a big thank you again to Rick Havenridge, sponsor and the Wealth Partners. Thank you to Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch, for bringing us for allowing us to do the Dirt Derby viewing party at Quaker Steak and Lube this coming Wednesday night. Get there at 7. Racing starts at 8. Get your order in early. It's going to be a great night. And then we've got a lot of stuff coming up. Next weekend's show, we will bring you recaps from the top finishers for the USMTS, the Lucas Oil, and we'll also bring you interviews from Thursday night's Malvern Bank Super Late Model race. We'll get you a full race recap. We'll preview the next race coming up for the NASCAR Cup Series. But that's going to do it for us today. Thanks a lot to Archer Perdue Auto Sales for sponsoring today's live show. We'll do it all again next weekend. For Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. This has been The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you white knuckle racing by the river bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.